Want to see what crypto mining looks like without spending a fortune? Do you have a student who is looking for a unique STEM project? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to do both of these using a Raspberry Pi. Welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, your home for all things relating to smart home technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about setting up a crypto miner using a Raspberry Pi. And this is something that if you've got a student who's looking for a different kind of STEM project, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, you want to stay tuned for this one. Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and we're going to be working on this together. This content is also available as an Amazon Flash briefing or podcast. Please go to techbiteswithronnutter.com for more information. For any items mentioned in this episode, there are affiliate links in the description. If you click on these links, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you're paying for the item. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. Now here's what we're going to talk about in this video. And we're going to talk about setting up a crypto miner using a Raspberry Pi. First, how this can be used as a STEM project. And it's very easy. There's a lot going on here that isn't readily apparent. Now, what are the required items? Trust me, you may already have most of these. We're going to talk about configuring the Raspberry Pi. And then once you've got that up and running, where do you go from there? Now, the first question you've probably got is, Ron, how can this be a STEM project? Very easily. Now, I've already brought up the Department of Education's website. This is just to give you a template, but let's look at the components. Science. Okay, you're going to be, well, if you're the student doing this one, you're going to be making observations as to how much cryptocurrency that you're accumulated at any given point, and that should scale over time. Anything with technology, I'm never going to make a definitive statement. And from there, you will draw on hypotheses and projections. So you're getting into what calls the scientific method. Now, technology. You're dealing with a Raspberry Pi. You're going to be setting up the operating system. And you're going to be doing some configuration. So that's got science and technology. Now, engineering, this will probably occur a little bit later in the process to where you're going to look at how you minimize the operating costs. And that sounds more like a math thing, but really it's going to be much more than that. You're looking at how to reduce the costs, right? Okay, number one is power. That's going to be your biggest enemy. You can look at implementing some sort of solar battery system. There's, running it maybe only at night, which then means you're not going to mine that much cryptocurrency, and how to make it cooler, because the cooler a Raspberry Pi works, or any computer for that matter, is going to be that much faster it potentially can run, because once some computers start getting a little warm, they start slowing down to protect themselves. Then math. Okay, there's going to be all sorts of math. You're going to do this one. You're going to be doing statistics. You're going to be doing projections. You'll be looking at how much power it's using versus the amount of crypto coin you've mined. There's all sorts of ways you can leverage this into something more than just a science fair project. So depending on what you're applying for in school, showing them that you set up your own crypto miner. Well, they say, well, anybody can do that one. Yeah, but you're not spending $20,000 in hardware to do it. You're doing it with a computer that's less than $40. And I'm being a little generous there because I usually buy the power supply and a few things at the same time. That's kind of gets you on a playing field where you can see the potentials where this could go. And I'm not going into as much detail as I probably could. Well, I think you'll be really happy with the required items list, because I tried to make this one, as involved as crypto mining is, I tried to make this one very straightforward, and I think you'll be happy with it. Well, now the first thing that we're going to have to deal with is the Raspberry Pi. Okay, big sacrifice. You probably already got one, or you're going to be getting one. Now, the trick there is you are going to need to choose between the 4B, the 3B, or the Raspberry Pi Zero W. I would go for the 4B at this point. It's going to be the beefiest in terms of power. You can get the 3, it's just going to be, you won't be able to crypto mine as fast. The other thing that you're going to be able to do is using a miner pre-built image. This is something that I spent probably well over 12 hours piecing this together myself and finding the right combination of different pieces, parts. And there were several write-ups I found on the internet, one of which flat never did work. The other one, maybe it worked, but without having a deep Linux background and knowing how to get into some of the logs. And I looked in the normal directories and they weren't there. And this is where Microminer really, hats off to Lee, the guy who did this. It is a totally ready to go image, and you just have to choose whether you're getting the 4, the 3, or the Raspberry Wireless 0. There is another thing you're going to need to keep in mind, and that's how recently you've updated the firmware on it. He's got 2 different images. If you're getting the 4B with 4 gigs or 8 gigs, you'll need to use the image specifically for that. I have the 2 gig model, and I still had to use the 4/8 gig build he created, because in the process of going to the Raspberry Pi OS that was released in January, it updated the firmware on the board, so the early version simply wouldn't boot. And no fault to Lee, it's just this is the challenges when you deal with a computer. That's why when you're first setting this up, that you will want to have a monitor and keyboard attached. I normally run all my headless and bring them up that way. This is one exception where you'll tear out a little less of your hair. So this is going to be very straightforward. Just take your time. Normally, by now, I would be showing you building the image, or burning the image rather. I'm not going to do that because this is a pretty large image. And if you've seen enough of my Raspberry Pi videos, you've got this one. It's built using Ubuntu, which will work. Nothing wrong with that. So now we've got all the pieces together, and I'm going to take you through how I got things up and running with the first mining that I put in place. The first thing you're going to do is go out and get set up with some sort of mining pool. It's going to be far easier to do it that way. The one I went with was one called Miner Claim, and they're actually going after something called the Magi coin. You'll see it Coin Magi, but it's XMG, so that will tell you that's the abbreviation for the cryptocurrency. Pretty much walks you through the process. You'll register, and of course I'm already logged in at this point, and you'll add a worker, and that's it. It says about downloading the mining software. Well, we're already using a pre-built image. You have 2 different S.T.E.M servers to go to. I've gone with this one that's got a higher level of difficulty, high risk, high reward potentially, and then you'll start your miner. I'm going to switch over to the Raspberry Pi, and I'm already logged in, and just for reference, I'm sitting in the Ubuntu home directory, because that's how I logged in, is Ubuntu, and then the password is in. All the information you will get from iMineBlocks. Lee's great. He's done a very good job of documenting this, and some of it you're just simply going to have to learn, but that's where I'm helping fill in a few more blanks to make it a little bit easier on that first one that you do. So I've already got the worker set up, and if you're going to be running multiple Raspberry Pis for however you're wanting to do this, or what kind of S.T.E.M project you're running, you'll need to have a separate worker for each Raspberry Pi. So you can see we're all ready to go here, and just to give you an idea of what this looks like, these are all the miners that are set up together. CC Miner, CPU Miner Multi, which is the one I tried using. I think it was just a matter of the pool I was going into didn't like CPU Miner, and that's another thing. Some of this you're going to find rather sparse documentation on. You'll get through this, and you've got Varium Miner XM Rig, which apparently is the one to use over CPU Miner V2, and then you've got 6 different ones that Lee's put together. You don't have to go into the directory, because what I will go out and do is I've actually got the commands pre-built. Okay, so we'll get that all copied over, paste, hit enter, and it's that simple. You get up and running that quickly. Now, and see, it's already mined 1 bit of coin, or 1 hash rather, I should say. And see, here's several more. You can actually go through dashboard on your Miner Claim account. This morning while I'm doing the video, they're having some back-end issues, but this is where you can see how many hashes you've worked, if there's been invalid. Now, invalid could be somebody got it completed and turned in before you did, and confirmed what you've got up and running. Unconfirmed is showing 0. There's actually ones in place. Again, they've got an alert up front that they're having some issues on the back end. They've got ahead of that one, and so they're doing a very good job at keeping you informed. But at this point, the challenge we've got into is as soon as we close the browser, as soon as we close the terminal program, you've just lost your mining. So let's get back in here. So now we're back to where we were just about to drop in the command to start the mining, but this time we're going to do green bash. This is a built-in command that allows you to detach from the Raspberry Pi and it would still remain running. Okay, so again, we've just mined one. Now I'm going to do the one thing that you're going to say, but hold it, this is going to kill things. No, it won't. So we'll back off here. Now if we go sudo top-I, it's going to list us the top active running processes. It'll take just a second to come back here, and there, see, it's the miner is still running, although we can't see it. It's still there. So that's fine. That's good. Now, if we do a screen ls, now you see there's the screen up and running. So that is just showing detached because we disconnected from it. To get back to that one, screen -R, and guess what? Miner's still running. This way you can leave it up and running. The only caveat here is if you lose power, you've got to restart the miner manually. There are ways that you can go into Linux and you have to edit some different configuration files and get it to where it will automatically restart. So you can see it's running right along here. And now this is where if you were to put your finger on top of the heatsink, it's going to get a little toasty because you're running it pretty hard. So which is another thing. You want to put the heat sinks on the Raspberry Pi. If it doesn't come with some, get some. You will be much happier in the long run. That's another point of experimentation, how to increase the speed of the mining. Would making the Raspberry Pi even cooler help? Well, it certainly couldn't hurt. Then you can get into overclocking, which then you really want to make sure that you're keeping the Raspberry Pi as cool as possible. Because the cooler you keep these single board computers, and any computer for that matter, is going to be the easiest way to make it happy and keep it running at optimal levels. Okay, now you're going to see, this is, again, we just went back to it. Now you will see yay and boo. Boo means it failed. Somebody got ahead, got it turned in ahead of you. Yay means it went through okay. This is pretty much just a hurry up and wait. And this is where if we just close the screen out, it's going to continue to run. That's the beauty of this. So, I mean, I can't speak high enough of Lee at iMindBlocks because he's got some excellent YouTube videos that you're well spent on time to watch. This is pretty much a turnkey package. You're still going to have to get a few things done, but it's going to be far easier to do. And I just started out with this particular mining pool. There are others out there. This is going to be something that will make it a little easier to get started, and in the end, who knows, you might make a few dollars. Again, I'm not showing you to do this to make loads of money, because if you're going to get into it at that level, you're going to be getting ASIC built mining rigs. You'll be spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. You're going to have a power bill that is going to be very high, and so far I've seen with the bench power supply that I've got this on, it's not pulling that much more power than I would have expected. But again, I've got it on a power supply that's running it as well as several other Raspberry Pis. So far, it's good to go. Now we come to the point of the conversation. Where do we go from here? That all depends on what you're trying to do with this one. If you're doing this as a STEM project, you could look at multiple Raspberry Pis. You could benchmark the different models of the Raspberry Pis that are supported. You could try overclocking. So, really it's going to be what you want to do. And you could even compare the ability to mine one cryptocurrency versus another. Some will be easier to mine with a single board computer. Some won't let you do it at all. Of course, if you're really wanting to make serious coin at it, excuse the pun, then you're going to be spending the big bucks to get those mining rigs, and you're going to be having a power bill that I don't even want to think about, because I was offered a crypto mining rig, offered the ability to purchase one. The power that it currently uses is about, let's see, with my current power bill, it's almost 3 times my current power bill to run that. So I'd have to be making some serious money, which then in the short term, you're putting out a lot of money until you can get the cryptocurrency converted to cash and into use. So there's a whole nother process, but I'm looking at strictly this as an educational exercise for those that are looking to do this as a learning exercise for a STEM project. If you're like me and just curious about crypto mining, this is a very low cost way to get to it. And if you decide you really want to put your toe in the deep end, well, then you can start seeing where you need to go to get the kind of equipment. And it's not going to be cheap, but that's going to be a decision that you can make if and when you get to that level. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of different currencies you can try to mine, and it can be an interesting little hobby. Are you going to get rich at it? No, but I'm not going into this to get rich. I just wanted to see what it was like, and so I could have some appreciation for those that are spending the time to do it. And you'll see plenty of YouTube videos where there's people who have crypto mining farms. They've got their basement filled with computers, so they've got them out in the garage. And trust me, these things get noisy because they're having to be cooled a lot. But again, that's something for you to think about. Meanwhile, you've got the good basis here to get started. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see videos on the screen that are similar to the one you've just watched or other content that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.